As I look into my crystal ball, I can see the Sony a7S III.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait! Okay now.
Hey guys, this is Steve Huff from SteveHuffPhoto.com, and today I want to talk about what I feel is coming next from Sony. And I could be wrong, I have no inside information. This is just going by history and what my gut's telling me. And I strongly feel the Sony a7S III is coming soon, is on the way. And I'm going to talk about what I think the a7S III is going to be like. Now, the a7S, the a7S II are two of my favorite cameras in the Sony lineup. I also love the a7R II, the a7R III, and again, this is being filmed with an a7R III and a Zeiss 18mm Batiste lens. But the Sony a7S III is about due, and video enthusiasts, filmmakers are looking forward to this release because the a7S series has always been geared towards video, filmmaking, and incredible class-leading, best-in-class, world-class low-light capabilities. Now, not many of you probably shoot in cavernous situations where you need crazy ISO performance, but there are some of you, kind of like a little niche group, who crave that low-light experience. I'm one of those guys. But what's cool about the a7S series is not only is it fantastic in daylight, it's amazing in low light, so you have a no compromise camera. And you kind of have that already with the a7Rs, the a7s. They're all so good in any situation these days, especially the Mark III. It's kind of hard to figure out where the a7S III will land. Like, why choose it over something like an a7R III or the $2,000 a7 III? Well, this crystal ball is not really showing me the next Sony, of course. This is actually, I use this like a big lens ball, which are the, you can see my face in there. You can take some interesting photos with it, but it's kind of gimmicky, of course. But I've had this around for a while. Let me set it down. I wrote down a list of my predictions for the Sony a7S III. And right at the top, I say, this will be my Sony. And that's because I'm expecting great things from this camera. I expect all improvements from the a7R III, the a7 III, and some of the a9 into the a7S III, meaning the newer body style, the much faster autofocus performance, the joystick, the dual card slots. I think it's going to have the same EVF as the a7R III. So you're going to get that pro build, the weather seal, and the best in class for Sony as far as the body goes. I think for video, I think you're going to have 6K downsampled to 4K, which is going to give you the richer details and dynamics. I think it's going to have hybrid log gamma, of course the S-Log 2 and 3, and the big one that a lot of people are hoping for, I think it's going to happen. I think the a7S III will have 4K video at 60 frames per second. I kind of feel they have to, because how are they going to differentiate it from the a7 III, the a7R III, which are fantastic for video in their own right? They also have to compete with Panasonic. So I think it's going to have the 4K 60 frames per second. As far as that 30-minute recording limit, which we have on these Sonys, I feel it's going to keep that, which I wish they wouldn't. So I do think it's going to still have the 30-minute video limit. Of course, that's easily fixed. You just record 30 minutes, stop, record another. It's just kind of a pain. I think it's going to have 399 focus points. I think it's going to have face and eye detection as well as contrast and phase detection. So it's going to have, I think, the same AF performance as the a7 III, which is slightly better than the a7R III, which is a little bit under the a9. truth be told, the a7R III, the a7 III, and the a9 are all blazing fast and should give no one any issues with focus performance, especially when using native Sony glass, which was designed with that in mind. I will tell you though that the Zeiss Batiste here is very fast focusing on the a7R III. No issues with that. It's blazing fast. So I feel the a7S III is also going to have that blazing fast performance. I think as far as the sensor, I think they're going to go with an all-new sensor, and there's no way it's going to be 24 megapixels because the a7S series has always been about the low light capabilities. And the a7S, the a7S II had kept that same 12 megapixel sensor, which I adored, though when you use something like an a7R III, Hasselblad X1D, and you go to the Sony a7S 1 or 2, those 12 megapixel files seem so small when you're blowing them up, but they're beautiful. Big fat pixels on that full frame sensor is what allows that camera to be so good in those low light, cavernous kind of situations, right? So I think that the new a7S III, I believe it will have a brand new full frame sensor. And if they don't stick with 12 megapixels, which I'm not sure they will, I think they're going to go up to 16. So if they go up to 16, expect a minor improvement in low light from the a7S and a7S II. If they stick with 12, which I don't think they will, but if they do, they might even go to a 1 million ISO capability as a pushed, enhanced ISO limit. But I expect about a 2-stop improvement from the a7S and a7S II in low light, which will still mean that the new a7S III will be the king of the night without question. As I said, it will have the dual slots, the joystick, the EVF of the a7R III. Again, these are all my predictions. It's not fact. I don't have inside information because if I did, I wouldn't be able to talk about it. I'd be sued for like $1 million. So I have no NDA, I have no information. Now, when will something like this be released? When do I think an a7S III will be released? I feel it will be released or announced at least. I think it may be announced anytime between next week and August, possibly, okay? When will it be available? I think it will be available before Christmas. I would say November. It's quite possible it'll be announced in September and ship in November before the holidays, which is something Sony has done before. But we also might get a hint of it before August. I'm not really sure, but I think this year, 100%, we will have the a7S III. As for how much it will cost, normally the a7S series are at the pricier end, just like the a7R III. But I have a feeling the a7S III will come in at $29.99. I think that would be a perfect price point for Sony, and I think a lot of people would flock to it, especially over the Panasonics. Now, the Panasonics, are very much praised for their video capability. And Panasonic has created its space in that profession, that video field. But Sony, with an a7S III, with the a7S 1 and 2, they've created that niche within the video maker and filmmaker field. And I think the a7S III will just push them over the top. Sony, as a digital imaging company, have been just kicking some serious booty, man. They have been releasing amazing cameras that started with, it started back with the a7, of course, but what really started pushing them was the a9, the a7R II to some extent. The a9 really kicked them into gear, the a7R III, and then especially the recent a7 III, which is still, getting all the attention. So I don't think we're going to hear about the a7S III. I said possibly as early as next week. I don't think that's going to happen, but we never know. So again, I think it's going to have all the improvements from the Mark III models, which is good. That battery system is worth it alone. For example, if you buy an a7S or a7S II, buy like 5 batteries with it. a7S III, you would need 1, maybe 2, because the battery system is just that good. I think you're going to have the 4K 60 frames per second capability. I do think you're going to have the face and eye detect focus with phase detection and contrast detection. I think the sensor is going to go to 16 megapixel. If not, look for capabilities of almost 1 million ISO. These are my predictions, and it's just predictions because of what I think Sony should do, what I'd like to see. So I'm hoping to see this. And look for it to be around $3,000 this year, 2018. Now, if all this comes to fruition and they release this camera like this, I will be first in line to buy it. I will ditch any other Sony I have on hand to have this camera, because I use the a7R III for all kinds of video work, and it's been doing really, really good. But I know the a7S III would be that little bit better. So I'm looking forward to the a7S III. When it does come out, I am going to do a top to bottom, big old school style SteveHuffPhoto.com review of that camera, because it's something that excites me. Now, sometimes people ask me, or they used to ask me, like, I would write reviews and be so excited about the camera because I only review cameras that I like, that I love, that I enjoy. If I get a camera and I'm like, this thing doesn't inspire me, it doesn't create the passion, it doesn't ignite that passion, I won't even review it, because I don't want to waste 2 or 3 weeks of my time evaluating it and writing about it when I'm going to say, I don't like it, so I wouldn't buy it. So why would I tell you guys to take a look at it? So I only review cameras that I like, cameras that inspire and motivate, because I am me, SteveHuffPhoto.com. I'm not working for a website where I have to review a camera even if I hate it. For 10 years now, I've been only reviewing cameras I like and love, and that's what I do. So this camera, the Sony a7S III, will be one that really excites me. Now, something like this a7R III, it excited me a little bit, but it didn't like blow my mind, because it was kind of like an evolution, right? Now, the Sony S3 will be an evolution, but if it has all of these features, it's going to tick a lot of boxes for a lot of people, especially the video crowd. So I can just picture, you know, the a7S III rigs all in their cages and with all the accessories. It's going to be a cool camera, guys. Now, of course, I could be wrong, and maybe Sony will never even release an a7S III, but I doubt that will happen. I think it's going to come this year, and as I said. So other than that, I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts on what I think the a7S III will be, and when it will be, and how much it will be. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, thumbs up and subscribe. Click that notification bell if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. My next video will be a review of a really cool little bag, the K2 bag from blackforestbags.com. Very affordable, very beautiful bag. They just put it up on the website, so I will have my review of that in a day or two. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.